Hi, my name is Alana.
And my name is London.
I'm 14 years old and a freshman at New Haven High School in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And I'm 15 years old and I'm from Pontiac, Michigan, where I'm in 10th High School.
We're a part of the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition Youth Working Group and will be your moderators for tonight. Welcome to the MWBDC Youth Podcast Series. Tonight, we will be focusing on youth and indoor air quality.
Here is some highlights. Do not forget to put questions for our panelists in the chat. Look on YouTube and with your friends and family. Please be respectful of viewpoints. So let's get started with the bios of our special guests.
Jordan Iving is the youth program manager at the Green Door Initiative. In her current role, she connects inner-city high school students with opportunities to explore nature while using educational and hands-on programming to expose these students to unconventional career paths in natural resources, agriculture, forestry, maritime trades, IT, and college preparatory experiences.
Valdi. He is a native of Pueblo, Colorado, and a parent education in electronics and technology and physiology. He began environmental justice work in 2015 as a volunteer digital organizer and now is a Colorado senior organizer for Mothers Out Front. Working towards the goal of livable climate for all children, he has also served as an appointed member of Colorado's Environmental Justice Actions Task Force. Jamie's activist background is primarily a racial and economic justice movements, and he is considered environmental justice a natural progression that becomes a passion. He therefore approaches all his work in equality, justice, and industry in his mind. Last, we have Ariana Kahan, is an environmental scientist, organizer, and poet, working to address the climate crisis. She was born and raised in Bangladesh, a country annually submerged underwater as a result of climate change. For the past decade, Ariana has been involved in the youth climate movement through her work and action for the climate emergency, ACE Climate Emergency Activists, CEA, the Wild Center, the Climate Museum, Global Kids, etc. Ariana is currently an environmental science master's student at St. John's University, working in science research, advocacy, and policy to analyze climate solutions in more leaders communities.
And with that, let's get into the questions. Remember, if you have any more questions for our panelists, leave them in the comments.
All right. Um, so how are youth disproportionately impacted by harmful indoor air quality, and what are the health impacts?
I can start. So first off, ladies, thank you for having me. Thanks for the introduction. But as far as youth being disproportionately impacted by poor indoor air quality, there's a lot of harmful effects. So that can range from exacerbating respiratory diseases like asthma or bronchitis, or things like affecting cognitive development, because long-term exposure to poor air quality can actually increase the chance for learning disabilities and poor performance in school. I will also say increased absenteeism from school. So, if a kid is having an asthma attack, then, they're not going to be in school. They're in the hospital. So that absenteeism creates an issue, which is a huge issue. One thing for sure that um, young Black children in particular are 3 times as likely to be hospitalized due to asthma triggers than their white counterparts. And that's specific to Detroit, which is where I'm from. So it's a really big deal. Asthma is a really um, huge issue in Michigan and in Detroit specifically because the amount of people, and I'm talking about people of color specifically, there's more people with asthma in the city of Detroit than there is in the entire state of Michigan. So, and children make up a large population of that, and it's mainly Black and brown children. So that's what I would say about that to answer your question.
Ariana, Jamie, do you have anything to say about that?
Yep, I can go next. So I think that youth are disproportionately affected by poor indoor air quality due to their developing respiratory systems, as Jordan mentioned, extended time spent indoors, and then limited control over their environments. So this vulnerability leads to like a range of health issues that Jordan also mentioned, including respiratory problems, allergies, hindered cognitive development, behavioral challenges, increased infection risk, and potential long-term health impacts. Surprisingly, I recently read a 2023 study in the Cambridge University Press linking poor indoor air quality to negative mental health consequences. So the study mentioned that particulate matter, such as bioaerosols, or in other words, anything from viruses to pollen, play a role in the complex mix of things that affect our health. But this mix is influenced by where we live, how much money we have, our living conditions, and our unique biological factors, none of which young people in particular have control over. That makes them disproportionately at risk of poor indoor air quality.
Jamie, anything? Oh, we can't hear you.
Jamie, I think you might be muted.
Jamie, if you touch the microphone down on the screen, it'll take you off mute.
I think he may be reconnecting.
Well,
Or they
next
may be
question.
reconnecting.
Well, next question.
How does air quality affect the quality of life for both youth and older adults?
We can switch it up this time. um, I'll go. So I'll talk a little bit about my lived experiences. For my lived experiences, I know that youth, and more specifically newborns, are extremely vulnerable to poor air quality. I was 7 years old in Dhaka, Bangladesh, when my younger brother was born prematurely with a heart defect. The amount of particulate matter in the air in Dhaka is 3.6 times above the recommended limit given by the World Health Organization. The doctors basically said that the air outside, the one that I had been breathing my entire life, was too dangerous for my newborn brother to breathe. Up until that point, I had not considered the role that air quality played on my 7-year-old self's quality of life. But since then, I've had the opportunity to delve into this, and I know that both young people and older adults are at risk of adverse respiratory, cardiovascular, cognitive, and mental health impacts from poor air quality.
So thank you for sharing that story, Ariana. But to her point, she's totally correct in the fact that infants they take faster and more breaths in a minute than adults do. So it's almost like they're ingesting more air than what an adult would per minute or per second or however you want to put it. So she brings up a very good point about that. to kind of touch on older people and it kind of speak on what Ariana already said, the cardiovascular issues like stroke, heart attacks, and high blood pressure are pretty much things that become elevated when we're dealing with poor air quality. And I think it's really interesting that because and there's somebody in the chat that mentioned why are do doctors recognize or mention poor air quality to their patients, and why is this not talked about more? I find it very interesting that when people are going to the doctor, and I'm speaking more from not necessarily my lived experience, but kind of like my family's lived experience. Um, you go to the doctor, a lot of what they talk about when it comes to high blood pressure is, oh, it's genetics. High blood pressure runs in your family type deal. When the truth of the matter is, a lot of people have been in the same location or urban communities for generations and generations, which means they've been exposed to a certain type of air quality all their lives, which speaks to both indoor and outdoor air quality. So I think my hope is that with the wildfires, I've noticed that there has been, well, the wildfires in Canada, just to be specific. I feel like I'm hearing more conversations about air quality, but I would say it's more about outdoor air quality instead of indoor air quality. And I do think that doctors need to put more emphasis on that, because there's some really simple solutions that I'm sure we're going to talk about that can help with those type of impacts. But to the point of with older people dealing with poor indoor air quality, how does that affect them? Once again, that absenteeism, even from work, becomes an issue because that then affects your paycheck, and then your paycheck, I mean, that affects your quality of life. We know that, and then higher hospitalization or more frequent hospitalization, that's higher medical bills. So we're then dealing with a situation where it's not even just about air quality, it's about being able to financially sustain yourself when you're dealing with all of these, I'm going to say, burdens, environmental burdens, both indoors and outdoors. So it's quite a bit to deal with. Hi, Jamie. I see Jamie's back.
Yeah, hey, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry about that. My computer froze up.
Well, I'm gonna repeat the second question. How does air quality affect the quality of life for both youth and older adults? Since you didn't get to answer the first question.
Yeah, thank you. As was previously mentioned, for youth, children breathe more rapidly, and because their systems are still developing, the air pollutants affect them more intensely than they do adults, and can cause more health problems. As far as adults, we also experience increased rates, for example, in my community, of asthma, COPD, and cardiovascular disease when compared to state averages. And at the same time, we've got several of the state's largest emitters of air toxics here in Pueblo. And so that outdoor air quality can transfer or translate to problems indoor air quality as well. The other thing, our local schools have not taken a lot of steps to ensure that the schools have healthy indoor air quality. And so I think that healthy and sustainable schools need to be a priority moving forward. The other thing I would say is that life expectancy in communities that experience a lot of air pollution is decreasing. The cost insurance, health insurance, is in those same communities. So those are definitely impacts that affect all of us that live in environmental justice communities.
learning something new every day. Uh,
Next question. What are some solutions to decrease harmful indoor air quality, and what can stay-at-home parents do?
Does Jamie maybe want to start since he missed the first question?
yeah.
Sure, happy to. Some of the solutions that we can take, especially on our own in our own homes, are like switching from gas powered appliances to electric. For example, gas stoves. Children especially experience, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I checked the numbers, it was a 42% increased risk of having asthma in a home that uses a gas stove. And so electrifying those appliances can really make a big difference in the quality of our indoor air quality, both at home and in our places of work or business or whatever, schools, etc.
Okay.
No, you want to go, Ariana? I'm sorry.
No, so I'm throwing it to you
No,
first.
no. Okay, no problem. Okay, so and the question was about decreasing indoor pollutants and air quality. So, I mean, it's a lot of simple things, honestly, like cleaning, dusting, proper ventilation, opening up the windows if it's a good air quality day, not if it's a bad air quality day. This is this one. So I'm actually, it's interesting. I'm actually going to be doing a presentation in New Orleans with the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice about air quality. And one of the things I'm doing is a demonstration, which is super simple. And it's a box fan that I'm putting an air filter on the back of it, a MERV 13 air filter, and you turn that back, you kind of duct tape it or use clamps or bungee cords, and you duct tape it on the back of the fan. Make sure that the airflow is going towards the fan, and essentially you have an indoor air filter that has the capability to um, suck up or ventilate the COVID-19 virus, smoke, and particular matter from zero point 0.3 to 1.0 microns. So it's super simple. It's literally like a two-step process. And of course, people have gotten real like finagle with it, where they kind of put filters on all four, three or not four sides, but on both sides. It's a whole thing. But if you want to just keep it simple, that alone will last you 6 months inside of your home. If it's like a super hot day and it's bad air quality and you shouldn't be opening your windows or running your air conditioner. So simple things like that. Not smoking inside the house. um People think that candles and incense are good, and I love candles and incense, but they're not good for your indoor air quality. They're actually horrible. I hate that that's a thing, but I'm sure there's also natural, like you could probably boil some certain type of herbs to get a good smell in your house. I'll be honest, I remember at one point people were like boiling like not Lysol, but what is the cleaning solution, Fabuloso, like to actually like make their house smell like that. I just mop my floors clean smell, and it's not okay. It is not okay. But and I would say like ventilation, like checking your HVAC system, so switching out your filters, staying on top of that, controlling humidity, air purifiers. And I think, and as far as going back to controlling humidity, I think it's supposed to be like from 30 to 50%, but no more than that, to decrease the mold, the potential for mold to grow, because that's an asthma trigger. So those are just a few solutions. But like I said, that box fan situation is really simple, and you can figure that out on YouTube. So yeah.
Well, coming from like a Bangladeshi household, I wanted to share some of my most intuitive and simple tips to improve indoor air quality. Leave your outside shoes at the door to avoid trekking in those outdoor pollutants. I've been living in densely populated cities my whole life, and my mom's trained our family to never wear our shoes inside our homes, both in Dhaka and in New York City. And we also have our fair share of house plants to naturally filter some of the pollutants. But do be careful if you have pets. For instance, like my cat loves being near the snake plant, even though it's toxic for her. So be careful if you have pets. And then the last thing I was gonna say was I was gonna bring up mold. Mold buildups happen anywhere there's humidity, so probably in your bathrooms. And those are some hard to reach walls that we've had mold at. So just being on top of the cleanup game helps with the indoor air quality.
All right. All right, next question. Oh, it's on me. Hey, y'all. Poor indoor air quality can have a significant impact on the health and well-being of youth, aka me, and Alana. Particularly in schools and homes. What particular measures can schools and households can adopt to improve indoor air quality, and how can young people be involved in advocating for these changes? Anyone?
Well, first of all, I would first of all, I would say that the youth are some of the most powerful voices that we can have advocating for better policies and more sustainable practices, because it's really y'all's future that we're talking about here. And so y'all's future and y'all's health. The youth are the ones that I think have some of the strongest voices. And so to have them involved in advocating is very much an asset, and is extremely compelling in my experience. When it comes to talking to like elected officials and stuff, they really are partial to from the young people. And so beyond some of the solutions that we just talked about can be employed here too, both in schools and at home, when we talk about electrifying both your appliances and as well as filtering your air as much as possible. So for like in school, I was talking about we need to make sure that the maintenance people are changing out air filters regularly like they're supposed to, and keeping the HVAC systems well maintained and cleaned out. The other thing is also, like Jordan mentioned, we need to be closing those windows on high pollution days and opening them when the air is fresh out, letting that fresher air circulate. So those are just a few ideas that come to my mind right off the top of my head, and I'll leave off now and let others chime in.
Ariana, you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. So we know that our environment affects our health without a doubt, in which case the built environment that young people are often born into, that they don't have a say over building, also affects their environment. So in that case, while young people are the future, we are the future. While we are the future, I do think it's also a responsibility of schools and policymakers to consider indoor air quality in built infrastructure from the get-go. So I took a sustainable building class during my first semester of grad school, and learned about very simple technologies like more efficient HVAC systems, and just architecting windows in certain parts of a building and schools to let fresh air in, as a solution to a lot of the infrastructure issues that we're born into. So I grew up going to New York City public schools, and there's often no difference between our prison designs and our public school infrastructure designs. That needs to change. And that's not a building that I built or had any say in building, but it's the one that I was receiving my education in. So that's where policymakers come into play, and just more widespread knowledge of sustainable buildings come into play. I also wanted to just reiterate that point about switching to electric stoves in the household, because electric stoves don't emit pollutants or combustion byproducts into our indoor air like traditional gas stoves do. And that's not something that any older people in my family was aware of. So I had to be the advocate in my family to bring that energy efficient technology to the forefront of their minds. And I think that's often the case with young people being advocates within their households and immediate communities. So even if we're not working on a policy issue per se, we can be advocates within our immediate communities and our households.
All right.
Um, to Ariana's point, I think she's so right about the fact that the youth, it's like you guys, you know how to get access to information that a lot of people much older than you don't. You guys are more aware. Raising your voices and maybe starting a clean air campaign or an advocacy club or like Ariana said, start at home. Like that's my biggest tip. Tell your grandma and your aunties and all of that. And Jacob in the comments even said, because some people have gas stoves and they really like them. The old school folks or older people prefer gas stoves, and they're just like, I'm not gonna change. But turning on the exhaust fan over the stove when you're cooking, something real simple like that. I will also add using safer cleaning products, whether it's in the household or in the schools. I don't know what needs to happen, or how about this? Young people advocating to school boards to use safer cleaning products in the schools so that there's less asthma triggers. How about that? Ways that you can, get involved. And I think I had one more, but I can't quite think about it. So yeah, I think that covers everything.
Oh, well, yeah, because I was wanting to say so. Because, like, my school, I go to West Bloomfield School, so, it's, like, big, populated, and there's a lot of people. So, like, and they do the cleaning products after school. Oh, my gosh, it is real bad. I can see why they be making us go outside to get a big batch of fresh air, but, like, when we go back inside for, like, clubs and stuff, it don't really change nothing. It make the whole school smell like bleach and it don't smell right. And about another thing about like the switching to electric stoves, I have a cooking class tomorrow, and all of them except one of them are gas stoves. And I'm just, why is one of them electric and all the other ones are gas? When she said that on like the first week of school, but eh, eh. But here's the second to last question. With increasing awareness of indoor air quality, what role do you see technology playing in monitoring and improving air quality indoor environments? And how can young inventors contribute to the development of such solutions? Jordan, you want to start?
Yeah, no problem. So I would say so. And Green Door Initiative has been awesome about this. We have air quality, and I should have mentioned this on the last question too. We have air quality monitoring systems that we are currently placing in childcare facilities to monitor the air inside of the schools and the daycares to basically, give assessments on how they can reduce the asthma triggers in the building. So, and it's free, and it's free. So FYI, if anybody has a daycare or a child care facility, we are looking to do assessments and put air monitoring systems inside so we can track the whatever particulate matter or what might be in the air. So air quality monitoring systems, smart sensors is a thing, or it's like alert systems where they alert you to the different toxins that may be in the air, and they kind of naturally adjust via air purifying. So that's becoming a thing. Um, and like automation, so anything that is, how can I say, runs on its own, and people don't have to, sit there and like monitoring, and it just kind of calculates data for you. I think that's going to be something that we're going to see more often. My hope is that it becomes more accessible to people. But my hope also is that young people will get involved in the development of these different technologies, and whether that's a mobile app, or I don't know, just like I said, awareness campaigns or different things like that. But I really hope that young people will really latch on to the technology and start to be the developers of this thing, so that, I mean, because that's also some really great job security, and the ability to create, careers for yourself. So I think those are some of the things that we're going to see more of, or at least I hope so.
Yeah. To add on to Jordan's point, I feel really passionately about having diverse people going into sciences and technology and innovating climate solutions for things like indoor air quality, because we already have the technology, right? Like, we already have sensors to monitor indoor air quality, but it might not be tailored to like individual health and sensitivities and different socio-demographic data. So if you come from a community that is affected by bad air quality like I was, it gives us more of a reason to be at the development stage, like Jordan mentioned, and find careers within science and technology that, that we can like be a part of, so we can be a part of the solutions. And that's going to be pivotal, I think, moving forward, for particularly like our own communities, because nobody understands the problems better than the ones who are in the midst of it.
I agree with everything that was just said. I would also just point out, we here in my community of Pueblo, Colorado, we last year a air monitoring program, some of the state's largest emitters of air pollution, but we didn't have adequate air monitoring. Prior to our project, there was only one air monitoring station in our community. And this is not uncommon. It's one of the things that we often see with environmental justice community, which is data gaps in the data, where we don't know what is in the air, where it's like that we're breathing. And so it makes it hard for us to then go and advocate for ourselves. And so last year, our Mothers Out Front team here in Pueblo started a project called Clean Air Pueblo to improve the air quality monitoring in our community. So we sought out a grant, and with the funding that we got from that grant, we bought 18 purple air monitors, and we're recruiting folks in our community, scientists, and house these monitors on their homes, businesses, or schools. And that way we can start to plot some data points and create a network of air monitoring here in our community. And these purple air monitors are really cool because they're open source, and so the data is free and available to anyone online. And that we wanted that for our project because data democracy was a huge importance to us. And so we've now added, I think it's 8 monitors to what used to be only 1 in our community. And so we now have a nice little network starting, and you can go online, and I don't know if that's going to show up very well, but each one of those little green dots is one of our air monitors around our city. And if the air quality gets bad, then those colors will change to yellow and then orange and red as the air quality gets worse and worse. And so that's really something that can be replicated in other communities across the country and really around the world. The data, the grant funding is out there. There are several environment foundations that are looking at these kind of projects and kind of thing that can be replicated all over the place. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we also work with our local Boys and Girls Club to distribute what are called AtmoTube air monitors. And this is what they look like. They're pretty small. You can put them on a keychain and take them anywhere with you. You can take them to your school, take them to work, take them to the football game, your brother or sister's sporting event or whatever. And same thing, they connect to a phone app. And so you end up with a readout like this that tells your wherever you might be. And so you can always check what the air quality is like wherever you might go. So we distributed a bunch of these Atmo tubes to kids in our community with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and they are now able to go out and monitor the air wherever they go. The other thing, we also partnered with Boys and Girls Clubs to have an event where we taught them how to make the air cleaners that were previously mentioned by Jordan, where you tape a box fan and use it to draw that air through the filter, and that way you clean the air that way. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that we have one more, well, not just one more, but another learning project that we're going to be doing with the kids from the Boys and Girls Clubs pretty soon, where we're going to be teaching them how to make their own air monitors. We've found some simple plans online, and so we're going to be teaching kids from the Boys and Girls Club how to make their own air monitors, and that way they can start to monitor the air, even if they don't have access to one of these Atmo tubes or any other kind of air monitor. But we are doing what we can to make stuff like this more accessible to folks and to empower folks to be innovators and make their own monitors and their own air cleaners and things like that. So I think those are all some things that can be replicated all over the place, and I would really like to see that. I see there's a comment in the chat about sharing the app link, and I'll do what I can to find that. I think you're talking about the AtmoTube app. I'll try to find that and share the link real time.
All right. Well, I have one more question. For me, because before Alana gets to the actual last question, and this is for all three of y'all. How do people advocate for electric appliances if they can't really, I wouldn't say afford it, but they can't really afford it?
Yeah. Well, there's some good news with that. We've had a historic bill passed federally, right? The Inflation Reduction Act, that gives households, and especially low income and middle class households, with incentives to buy electric stoves and just high efficiency electric appliances such as heat pumps and space heating or cooling for their homes, and get rebates on that. So there are a lot of resources online where you can figure out how you're going to get the rebates. Sometimes you literally get some of the cash back from buying one of those appliances, but sometimes you get it in the form of tax credit. I know that Action for the Climate Emergency is working on a site where you can just go and figure that out by your zip code. I don't know if other tools like that already exist online, but it's something worth looking into because it's different state by state. And you can have an energy efficient household, or you can have these existing technologies for your home at an affordable rate because of this recently passed Inflation Reduction Act.
All right. Yeah. Jordan, Jamie, anything said?
So Ariana is 100% correct about the Inflation Reduction Act and those rebates or just those benefits of trying to be more efficient within your home. I've also, and this is something I need to look up for myself, to be honest with you. I believe there's like a small grant, or I'm not sure what the government is doing. It's probably under the Inflation Reduction Act, but it has to do with either paying for or giving people air purifiers. So I was told that by somebody else, and I need to look up that information and become more informed. But I will say that sometimes you got to do your research and really get on Google and really, look some things up. But there are resources to do updates on your home, or just even like weatherization, which would help, like, say, lower your heat bill, like by getting new windows, like Ariana said, electric stoves, different things like that. So there are resources, but I'll be honest, sometimes you got to dig a little to get a hold of some of these resources. I hate that they make it kind of not challenging, but maybe I will say, yeah, no, I'm gonna call it what it is. I feel like they make it a little challenging because you got to do a little bit of research, and sometimes the jargon or the qualifications, it's like maybe you don't make that much money, but you don't make less enough, or how can I say, you're not low income enough to receive the benefits of some of this stuff, but you know that you don't make a lot of money. So it can get kind of weird, the qualifications for some of this stuff. But I, a lot of things that I think about when it comes to residents trying to maneuver and get around some of these barriers is connect with organizations within your community, so that they can assist you and they can kind of walk you through these processes, because they're getting grant funds to assist you. So honestly, I am not, we do have an air quality department within Green Door Initiative. So, you could totally hit up, Green Door Initiative if you're a Detroit resident, but Jamie's in Colorado. Ariana, are you in New York?
Yep.
Yep. So, there's nonprofits and different organizations that are literally there and getting funds to help you. So I would suggest reaching out to your local nonprofit that deals with environmental justice issues, to help you navigate these systems and these grants and different things like that if you're feeling a little intimidated by them.
Jamie, anything to say about that? Anything to add on? No. Well, let's get to the last question. Alana, take it away.
Indoor air pollution is a pressing issue, especially in urban areas. How can youth-led initiatives and advocacy campaigns raise awareness about the health risks associated with indoor air pollution and encourage individuals and communities to take action in improving the air quality in their living and working spaces?
I can start us off. So, the conversation that we just had would be essential for us to have with our family and friends as well. But the reality is that we do have to combat disinformation even in those conversations, because fossil fuel corporations are fighting back against technology like electric stoves, by rebranding things to like natural gas or certified gas, which still contribute to adverse health impacts. I know that Action for the Climate Emergency, or ACE, currently has two ongoing advocacy campaigns called Renewable Revolution and Rigged that address air pollution and more generally the disinformation surrounding climate. And it's mostly just young people debunking this climate and environmental health myths through social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok. And advocacy campaigns like that on social media are super important to fight back against corporations who do have millions of dollars or billions of dollars poured into disinformation campaigns. So just, I think it would be really important for us to figure out where we're consuming our information from when it comes to those energy rebates, or when it comes to like considering what's good for our health, and then chatting with our friends and family accordingly.
Jamie, you want to say anything?
I agree 100% with what Ariana just said. And I would add that we need to do our best at communicating. For example, the air monitoring projects that I talked about and that others have talked about. We need to make information as easily accessible and easily digestible as possible. A lot of times the information can be there, but it's so complicated that you almost have to have like a degree in statistics and so we really need to make these the results of monitoring as easily digestible to the average person as possible. We also need to make information easily accessible to the general public. A lot of times it's just so obscure that, like I said, folks have a hard time advocating for themselves. If you don't know what's polluting you or what's impacting you, it's really hard to advocate for better. We can also prepare and execute projects and curriculum materials to inform our peers, both children and adults, about indoor air quality. And then the other thing is we just were talking about organizations that are working on these kinds of issues. Most of these organizations are prepared at any time to give presentations to local and state elected officials, as well as local community organizations, schools, or other entities. And so we can reach out to our organizations, nonprofits that are working in our communities, and a lot of them will often have information to help inform us and educate us and our peers.
Jamie and Ariana, they, said pretty much everything. I would only add that, and I even need to do better with this. But this is one of those things that the youth, you guys are so good at it, the social media, the TikTok and the Instagram and all of that stuff that y'all are into. I'm not into that like that, but you guys are. So it really informing your peers so that they can, tell their mom and dad and different things like that. Also to Jamie's point, and I remember when I was in high school, we had current events. We had a
Oh yeah.
current event. Yeah, I think it was a part of our social studies class or something, and it was about current events. So
Yeah,
you
mine's
have
about.
current events.
Yeah, mine is in my debate class, and I have them every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and we just talk about stuff that's going on in the world. And I just be like, I didn't even know that.
Right.
Oh,
So, and my thing is, it's interesting that you said debate because that sounds like an elective, isn't it?
yeah.
Right, which means that everybody is not getting that. And I feel like current events should be, because I feel like I had to have current events. Like I had to know what was going on. Like even like simple stuff, like when it was election going on, like our teacher had us watching the election in real time. Like that type of stuff is important. And I know that your generation doesn't really watch the news like that. So it's like, how are y'all knowing what is going on in the world? Like that is kind of disturbing to me that, you guys are like walking around just kind of like, really head in your phones and don't know what's going on. So, and that brings me to another question. Like, you could do kids still do the clubs. They do. You
Yeah,
guys do
yeah,
clubs,
yeah.
right? So, like environmental justice clubs, and I think it's amazing that the MWBDC has this youth cohort where you guys can have a platform to speak. But I mean, it would be awesome if more of, young people showed up to even listen. Or I don't know, maybe y'all could give a presentation to your classroom or something and have space to do that. So I mean, I don't know. I just, I feel like in high school we used to have these times where everybody would have to go to the bleachers or go to the like the big mess hall or whatever, and maybe it was announcements or something, or even, announcements over the overhead speaker. Like, why aren't we talking about it? Like, hey, the air quality is 171, like it was on June 27th, which was the second, which was the day that Detroit had the second worst air quality in the world. It was a Tuesday, and kids were in school. So, like, that should have been something that was over the overhead projector, or they should have had a, brought everybody into the cafeteria, and been like, "Hey, you guys, this is what's going on. Warn your parents, warn your grandparents, don't go outside." Or here's a quick demonstration about this, this box fan that you guys can do at home. I think that type of stuff is extremely important, and I really hope that it'll be more of a thing in the schools, because y'all spend so much time in school. And I feel like a lot of stuff y'all learning, some of it's, useful, and a lot of it's not useful. And I really hope that they'll start making you guys more aware, within the places that you're already spending so much time, so that you guys can come out of, school actually knowing about the world and how, you can keep yourselves and your family safe. So that's
Yeah, I kind of wanted to add on to that because when you were talking about current events, because I only have debate first semester because it's an elective, but there's also the debate club. When I went to debate club, we didn't talk about nothing that's going on. It was just basically arguing with facts, basically. And when you talk about like talking about things and like trying to like make sure like our generation is like well known, it's like we know what's going on, we just don't pay attention to it until something actually that can like affect us and in a snap could like I would say like it was like when like okay here's an example when when it was like the scare where like abortion was getting banned in like states or whatever, that's when like my generation was like, no. And then when it came from like the polar bears in Antarctica melting or whatever, it was just like, we don't care about that. It's like the bigger things like that has to do with the government we more care about. And then when it comes to like air quality, we kind of push it to the side, which is actually kind of sad to be honest for like coming from me, that is really sad because I'm just like, why do y'all not care? Like we have to breathe this air. Like we the next people. Like when y'all are gone, we gotta be. We're here, so we're just like I don't really get what's going on. And then like going back to the current events, I feel like it should be in like a U.S. history class where we like take a day where we talk about what's going on in the class instead of talking about what happened all the way in 1876 or what happened to the Holocaust or all that stuff that we know happened in the past. We need to talk about what's going on now so we know what to do later. That's what I feel like because we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on, to be honest. Yeah, that's just my say on it.
agreed.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much to Jamie, Ariana, and Jordan for coming on tonight. Do you have any upcoming events or anything else you would like to share with us?
Okay. Well, I know I'm gonna be back. Well, first, I definitely want to thank the Midwest, BDC, and I'm sorry because it's a long acronym, and I haven't eaten today. But I really want to thank you guys for this platform and inviting me on it, because I really just, like London said, I feel like the young people is like, know what's going on, but I think we all want you guys to care more. And I know that's gonna be like a journey and a work, but the fact that you guys are moderating, the MWDC has given y'all a platform to do that. That's really a big deal. That's a whole resume builder. As well as you guys are just gonna you did a great job tonight, but you guys are gonna keep getting better at it. And it helps you guys to be, informed. And I know it's like, I hope it doesn't come off nerdy when you guys talk to your friends about this type of stuff. But the truth of the matter is, when you connect with adults, and it could be college students, or like I'm in my 30s, and people that are older than you, it really does open up doors for you guys for future career opportunities, as well as just networking, and really being able to become more aware so that you can make an impact in your life, in the life of people that you know. So I really just appreciate the platform. I'm going to be back on the 19th to talk about youth and green jobs and green career paths. So I'm really excited about that. And you guys just did a wonderful job. I'm so pleased and happy to have had you guys as moderators tonight.
Well, thank you. Well,
I mean,
oh,
I just also wanted to say that I am only 5 years out of high school and was in the same shoes as y'all. Like, I think for me, it was more like there was just too much happening and I didn't know what to prioritize. And it felt overwhelming. And if you ever feel that way, because clearly you're aware, but you said it's hard to pay attention to it. Like, if you ever feel that way, just know that it's really normal, in a world saturated with so many problems, and that it really is a journey to become a solution-oriented person, a solution-oriented student, solution-oriented loving being, and you guys are already on that journey. So, I'm excited to have shared space with y'all. And I also wanted to plug the A Space social media, because like, if you're gonna watch TikToks, I don't have TikTok, but I watch the Instagram reels, and like I learn a lot about those like IRA rebates, like how do I save money with energy efficient technology. Like, I do get my information sometimes from those reels, so I wanted to share it with you guys if you also wanted to stay in the loop. And yeah, that's all. Thank you so much for having me.
And I would just like to reiterate how impressive it's been tonight to watch you all moderate this panel. I want to also thank the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition and my fellow panelists and our hosts for doing such a great job tonight. And I got to say, of where I was when I was age, as far as being informed and keeping up with current events and things that are impacting your lives. And so I just give you all the props, and keep up the great work. I hope to see you again in the future doing this awesome work again, or still.
Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast series. Next week, podcast focused on green builders. Please follow and subscribe Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition on YouTube. Follow on Facebook and on. There are going to be some links in the chat, so if you guys want to tap in on that, go ahead, get your little information on. We all hope to see you back here next week for our next panel, careers. And that being said, we are. It was fun.
Thanks for having us.
It was fun talking to you. It was fun talking to you.
Bye. Thank you.
Mm.